He expected an innocent mail-order bride for Christmas, not the woman who refused to let him fail. The snow came early that year, settling over the wide Montana plains like a white promise no one had asked for. Caleb Turner stood on the wooden porch of his ranch house, collar turned up, eyes fixed on the long dirt road that cut through the land he was close to losing. Christmas was 3 days away, and with it, the arrival of a woman he barely knew, his mail-order bride. Caleb had never wanted things to come to this. Once, the ranch had been alive with laughter, strong fences, and healthy cattle. Once, his parents had ruled this land with steady hands. But drought, debt, and bad luck had taken their toll. The bank wanted payment by spring. Without a wife, the land agreement he'd inherited would be void, and the ranch would be sold off piece by piece. So he had placed the advertisement. Practical, cold, honest enough. He expected a quiet girl. Someone young, desperate, obedient. Someone who would sign the papers, live quietly, and not ask questions. The stagecoach finally appeared through the falling snow. Caleb's jaw tightened. This was it. When the coach stopped, a woman stepped down, not a girl, not timid, not unsure. She moved with purpose, her boots firm in the snow, her back straight despite the cold wind. She wore a dark wool coat, practical gloves, and her eyes, sharp, observant, met Caleb's without hesitation. "Caleb Turner?" she asked. "Yes," he replied, caught off guard. "I'm Eleanor Wright." She offered her hand. He shook it automatically, still trying to reconcile her presence with the picture in his mind. She wasn't what he expected at all. Inside the house, Eleanor looked around slowly, taking everything in, the worn furniture, the cracks in the walls, the faint smell of old coffee and wood smoke. She said nothing at first, which somehow made Caleb more uneasy than complaints would have. "You can sit," he said, gesturing awkwardly. "I didn't come here to sit," she replied calmly. "I came to build something." That night, over a simple meal, Eleanor asked direct questions. About the ranch, the debts, the cattle losses, the land agreement. Caleb answered reluctantly, irritation simmering beneath his restraint. "You didn't mention how bad it was in your letters," she said. "You could still leave," he replied, harsher than he intended. "I won't stop you." She studied him for a long moment. "I didn't cross half a country in winter to run away." The next morning, Caleb woke to the sound of movement outside. He looked out the window and saw Eleanor already at work, checking the fence line, examining the barn roof, taking notes in a small leather book. "What are you doing?" he asked when he joined her. "Assessing," she said simply. "If this ranch is going to survive, you need more than hope." He bristled. "I didn't ask you to fix my life." "No," she said, meeting his gaze. "But I won't watch it fall apart either." Days passed, and Eleanor proved relentless. She reorganized the accounts, suggested selling unused land sections, pushed Caleb to speak with neighboring ranchers instead of isolating himself. She even negotiated with a supplier who had written Caleb off months ago. "You don't know how things work here," Caleb snapped one evening. "I know how failure works," she replied quietly. "And I refuse to live with it again." That was the first crack in her armor. Later that night, she told him the truth. Her father's farm had collapsed when he gave up. Her first engagement had ended when the man chose pride over partnership. She hadn't come to Montana for romance. She'd come because she believed survival was better when shared. Caleb listened, something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. On Christmas Eve, a storm hit hard. The cattle panicked, a section of fencing collapsed, and one of the younger cows went missing in the whiteout. Caleb rushed out alone, determined not to drag Eleanor into the mess he'd created. She followed anyway. They found the cow trapped near the ravine, weak and trembling. Together, numb with cold, they worked until their hands burned and their breath came out in gasps. When it was over, they stood there in the snow, exhausted and silent. "You could have stayed inside," Caleb said. She shook her head. "Marriage isn't shelter, it's standing in the storm." That night, by the fire, Caleb realized something had changed. Not the ranch, not yet, but him. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone in the fight. By spring, the bank agreed to an extension. The neighbors came around. The ranch wasn't saved, but it was no longer dying. On Christmas morning, Caleb handed Eleanor a small box. Inside was a simple ring. "I know this didn't start right," he said. "And I know you didn't come here to rescue me. But I don't want to face what's ahead without you." Eleanor smiled. Not softly, not shyly, but with certainty. "Good," she said, "because I never planned to let you fail."